So for tonight's homework, we're going to be dealing with inequalities, which we follow the same steps as we do with equations to solve. So let's look at our first inequality there of 4x minus 8 is less than 32. So our goal when we're dealing with inequalities is to isolate our variable. So we're trying to get rid of the 4 and the negative 8 on this side of our equal sign. So to do that, we use inverse operations. So I look at the inverse of subtracting 8, so I would add 8 to each side. And that leaves me with 4x is less than 32 plus 8, which is 40. So now I have 4x is less than 40, and I want to undo my multiplication of 4. So to undo the multiplication of 4, I divide both sides of the inequality by 4. And that leaves me with a solution of x is less than 40 divided by 4, so x is less than 10. So x is less than 10 is a solution to that inequality. So when we graph it, we graph with 10 in the middle, and we count normally since we're in the positive side of the number line. So 9 is on the left, and 11 is greater than 10. And when graphing an inequality, you always want to start by plotting your point with the numerical value of 10. So I plot my point at 10. You have to make the decision, is this going to be an open or closed circle? So since 10 is not a solution to this, 10 is not less than 10, we leave it as an open circle. And then we test our number on the left and the right and see which one makes the solution true. So I'll plug in a 9. Is 9 less than 10? You should tell yourself yes, so we're going to be moving in that direction. Since 9 is less than 10, everything on this side of the number line is a solution. So what that means is 9 is a solution. If we drew an 8, 8 would be a solution, 7, and so on. I can also check my solution by plugging in 0 for my variable. So if I look over at the 4x, over here, I could plug in 0 for my x value, and 0 times 4 gives me 0. So I'm looking at negative 8 is less than 32. Since negative 8 is less than 32, and my graph here, if I were to continue this line, it would in fact run into 0, I know my answer is true. And I know that 0 is a solution to that inequality. Now looking at the second inequality here, negative 6x plus 9 is less than or equal to 25. I started the same way by canceling out my addition of 9. So the inverse of adding 9 is subtracting 9, and I have to do it to both sides of the inequality. So positive 9 and negative 9 cancel each other out, and 25 minus 9 simplifies to 16. So that leaves us with negative 6x is less than or equal to 16. So to find our solution, we have to do the inverse of negative 6 times x. Since that is multiplication, we have to divide both sides by negative 6. And this is the only rule that is different than for equations. When you divide by a negative number, so since I am dividing by negative 6 on both sides, you need to switch your inequality sign. So if it starts as less than or equal to, my inequality sign switches to greater than or equal to. And then I cancel everything out the same way. So x is now isolated. X is greater than or equal to 16 divided by 6. 16 divided by negative 6. And that gives me a solution of x is greater than or equal to negative 2.6 repeating. So I could write that in as my solution. So x is greater than or equal to negative 2.6 repeating, and then I move on to my graph. So when you are graphing a decimal number, you want to include a number that is less than and a number that is greater than. So I'm going to say negative 3 is less than. And when we count with negative numbers, remember we count backwards, so it's negative 3, then we move to the right as negative 2, and we move to the right as negative 1. So when I plot this point, I'm looking at where negative 2.6 would fall in between, and it would be between negative 2 and negative 3. So I place my circle in between negative 2 and negative 3. Then you have to ask yourself, is negative 2.6 repeating a solution to this problem? And since negative 2.6 repeating is equal to negative 2.6, it is a solution, so we bubble it in. Then you look at the number to the left and to the right and figure out which one is greater than. So negative 2 is greater than negative 2.6. So we move our arrow to the right to show that every number in that direction is a solution. And we could double check with our sign. Since this arrow tip there looks like a greater than sign and we have a greater than problem, we know we got it right.